You could spend months or even years working on your dream game just to find out that nobody cares about it. No paths, no players, no souls, just silence. And this is a nightmare that a lot of indie devs face. But it doesn't have to be that way. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to find out if your game idea can succeed before you waste months or years chasing something that won't sell. Hi friend, Kyle here. For those who don't know me, I am a solo indie game developer and I'm currently working on my survival horror game called Silent Corruption. I have spent the last 3 years obsessively researching what makes indie games and indie devs successful. Right now, I'm deep in the trenches building my demo for my game. And in this channel, I share everything I learned along the way. Tips, tools, hard lessons, and all the stuff I wish someone told me when I started my game dev journey. I share all this to help you make progress on your own game. So if you're making a game yourself, you're in the right place. A lot of indie devs spend way too long working on a game idea that turns out to be bad. It is so easy to get stuck on your own bubble and to fall in love with what's in your head because you convince yourself that everything will come together once the game is finished. And you may even start believing that your own ideas are genius just because you're the only one looking at it. And then when you release the game, it flops. So how do you find a good idea for your game? When I first started working on Silent Corruption, I was convinced that it had something unique. I could see the monsters, the creepy fog, the dread so clearly in my head. And it truly felt for me that I had the next big thing in horror. But then a thought hit me. What if I'm the only one that thinks this is a good idea? I had no idea if there was gonna be an audience for my horror idea, or even if people were interested in survival horror anymore, or if they were more into the next flashy soul-like game or open world RPG. So I started digging. Not with fancy business tools or research tools because I am a broke indie type, mind you. I just went to places where players were actually speaking their minds. I spent weeks scrolling through Reddit threads, reading rants about what people hated in horror games. Things like bad AI, cheap jump scares, or boring stories. I read Steam reviews to see what the players were saying about successful and not that successful horror games. And I was watching for patterns. If a bunch of people complain about clunky controls in one game, I took note. If a horror game got praised for its atmosphere, I also paid attention to see how they were doing it. Then I also watched a ton of video essays about deep dives on successful and not so successful horror games, because there are people out there that had already done the research that you need for your own game ideas. So why not leverage it? All I had to do was watch, listen, and learn. And bit by bit, the picture became clearer. I realized that some of my ideas had already been done and done poorly. Other ideas instead had a lot of potential. And I just had to tweak them and give them my own unique vision, improve it on what didn't work before, and just bring in something new to the table. So if there's one thing I want you to take from this, is that don't fall for the originality trap. Nothing you're going to make is completely original. And that is not a bad thing, it's just the nature of creativity. Every film, book, and game that you love is built from bits and pieces of things that came before them. The trick is not to copy mechanic or features outright, because that's lazy and rarely works. What you want to steal is the thinking behind them. Things like the principles, the techniques, and emotional hooks that made those moments land. So when you study a game, don't just ask, what is a cool mechanic or feature I can just rip off? Instead, try to go deep and analyze why this moment hit so hard. What feeling did it create? How did it manipulate tension, curiosity, or fear? And once you really get that, you can start remixing. Learn what works, spot what people are craving but aren't getting. Combine ideas from games, films, TV shows, and any other media you can think of, even weird documentaries. Whatever sparks something. Then you twist it into your own version. And this is how good ideas come from. Okay, so you've done your research and you think you may have a good idea, but anybody can have a good idea. Ideas are cheap. What looks great on paper or sounds perfect in theory may totally fall flat once it's in the game. Mechanics can feel clunky, the pace can drag, and the core loop may just not click at all. So, how do you really know if your game idea is good? Right now, I'm working on a demo for Silent Corruption, as I said before. It's still early days, but this build is crucial. Once it's in a good state, I'm not gonna sit on it. I'm gonna put it in front of real people early and often. Getting honest feedback is not just about fixing bugs, it's about understanding if the core experience connects and if the player wants to come back for more. I start posting the demo in places like Reddit, subs like Play My Game, Game Dev, or Indie Dev. Have communities that are eager to help as long as you respect their rules and you're respectful when you post. Because the easiest way to get ignored or even banned is by spamming your link without contributing first. It's the same thing with Discord servers. The trick isn't to immediately jump in and start spamming your demo. It's to engage genuinely with the people that is already there and build rapport with them. Then you can share your playtest link when it makes sense. People are far more likely to help you if they already know you, or at least recognize you as a decent person in the community. Look, I get it. If you're a bit of an introvert or shy like I am, this can be a bit daunting. But you don't have to build rapport with people overnight. You don't need to become everyone's best mate in an instant. Good connections take time because that's just the nature of relationships. And it's exactly the same online. So join a few communities if you're not already on them. Try to interact with the people, make friendships, get to know each other, and when it's the right time, ask for help. I also upload my demo to itch.io because this is a place where people already are friendly towards demos and like to playtest weird games or obscure games that nobody knows. So that is also a good place to find playtesters. And of course, using social media to build an audience and connect with possible players is also a very good way of trying to get playtesters. But don't just spam your demo link everywhere because that rarely works. Instead, try to connect with people, share your progress on clips, and invite people naturally to play your game. There are also niche forums like TickSource or IndieDB where you can request feedback. And if you can, local game jams or local meetups can also be really good to have people play your game in front of you and see live reactions to your game. And of course, in my case, I can also post a video in my YouTube channel about my game once I'm ready to ask for playtesters. And I can also reach my audience through my newsletter and ask them if they want to be a playtester for my game. So the bottom line is that you need to playtest your game with real players. If you really want to know if your game idea is good, you can't build on a vacuum. Otherwise, you'll never know if what you're building actually works or you're building something that nobody will care about. Now, if you're not very known yet, it may be tricky to get people to play your game and give you feedback. And that is unfortunately completely normal. But don't let that stop you because you don't really need a big audience or a lot of playtesters to start with. You can start with just a handful of 3 or 5 playtesters because even this small amount of playtesters can give you a good insight of things you didn't even think about. Quick thing before we continue, if you're enjoying this video, I put together a free book, my Indie Dev Survival Guide, to help you work on your game without losing your mind. It's packed with stuff I wish I knew when I started game dev. You can get it for free when you join the newsletter. The link is in the description. And while we're here, don't forget to like and subscribe because it really helps the channel and it helps other indie developers discover these videos. Thank you very much! Getting feedback is great, but not all feedback is useful. If you try to please everyone, your game will turn into something messy and unfocused that will satisfy no one, including you. On the other hand, if you ignore feedback completely or you don't get enough feedback, you risk shipping something broken, confusing, or boring. And you can miss out on the insights that can make your game brilliant. So how do you recognize which feedback to act on and which one to leave behind? Once I gather enough feedback from Silent Corruption, I won't just skim through it and make a judgment checklist. I'll treat the feedback like a conversation. I'll dive into the comments watch the playtest video, note every frustration or confusion, every moment when the player feels excited. If the feedback aligns with what I'm trying to do, it will go into the checklist. Otherwise, I will just thank them and move along with it. Because the goal is to have an open mind, to change things that may not work, but stay true to your vision and not lose control of your project. And this loop isn't glamorous and maybe even a bit tedious, but this is where your game will start to truly take shape. And eventually your game will go from a messy demo to something tight and focused that is generally fun to play. And it's because it's built with a smart, filtered feedback. Basically, when you start to gather feedback, it can get a bit overwhelming because some people will love what you thought it was weak and some other people will hate what you thought it was brilliant. So the bottom line is don't treat all feedback equally. Focus on patterns instead of one-offs. If one player complains, that's an opinion, but if 5 players complain about the same thing, then you got an issue that is worth fixing. Prioritize clarity, engagement, and usability first. If people don't know what to do or they get stuck on a basic mechanics, those are your top priorities. If a player tells you, this sucks, that means nothing. But if somebody else tells you, I got lost because the map icon was difficult to see, that is actionable. So look for feedback that explains why something didn't work. Some people will try to redesign your game for you. So unless the feedback aligns with your vision, politely ignore it. Ask yourself, does this improve the core experience? If acting on a piece of feedback will improve your game in any way, making it more clear, tighter, or more fun, then do it. And also something very important, if a comment stings, don't dismiss it straight away, because it may actually hold something that is very true. And it can be a problem that you need to face. So, good devs listen to feedback. Great devs know which feedback to act on. If you enjoyed this video, you're going to love this one over here about the real reason why you can't work on your game. So go watch it and I'll see you there. Bye!